So today we have good news about Chris Murray and weird news about Ronnie Perkins. And all that's coming up after the bumper.
Don't be cornering me. Hold up. Time. You gotta help me with that corner
What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. Consider hitting the like and subscribe button because I upload a video every single day. It's always college football related, sports related. We have a good time. Today, I want to talk about Chris Murray and Ronnie Perkins. And I want to get at that by talking about Oklahoma coming off of a really, really fun and instant classic 4-overtime thriller in a win against Texas 53-45, in which we saw bad offense, we saw bad defense, we saw great offense, we saw really outstanding play from the likes of TJ Pledger and Isaiah Thomas on the defensive line. In particular, Nick Benito is having himself a year, and David Ugwoegbu is apparently drawing some comparisons to Kenneth Murray, according to Lincoln Riley. And I'll have more on that in a little bit. But in as far as the NCAA waiver process is concerned, the news is Chris Murray received his eligibility last Friday. That's not enough time to get him prepared to play against Texas on Saturday at 11 a.m., obviously. But this being a bye week, Riley said that he is confident that Coach Beatonbow will be able to put and get Chris Murray up to speed so that he will be able to contribute this year to the offensive line. This is a transfer from UCLA and a vaunted transfer at that particular position of guard, left or right guard, on an offensive line that is very experienced but has had tremendous problems, at least through the first 3 games, kind of sort of gelling in the second half of the OU Texas game and into the 4 overtimes. But in the first half, everything looked bad. Creed Humphrey, your preseason All-American, is botching snaps. They're getting beat up in the middle. Keandre Coburn is having his way with Creed Humphrey, who is somehow losing his bit of nasty edge. Tyrese Robinson needed to check himself, get back on the right page. Anton Harrison and Eric Swinson, still those guys that you have out at left tackle, but one of those guys is a true freshman. One of those guys is a redshirt senior. One of those guys is supposed to be outstanding, and the other guy is supposed to be learning the ropes. But between Harrison and Rame, you also have 2 dudes that are not just true freshmen, but have tremendous upside. You see that by how quickly they're getting onto the football field ahead of the guys like Bray Walker, Stacey Wilkins, and Darrell Simpson, all of which were U.S. Army All-Americans coming out of high school, got to participate in the All-America Bowl. Now, adding a guy like Murray also just gives you tremendous depth and probably some flexibility because Beatonbow has shown that guys that project to be guards, he'll play at tackle, and guys that project to be tackles, he'll play at guard. See Bray Walker and Andrew Rame at those particular positions. But getting him healthy, or not healthy, getting him eligible, I think is going to help Oklahoma tremendously. Just like I thought getting Ramondre Stevenson, Trajan Bridges, and Ronnie Perkins back is going to help Oklahoma tremendously when they get back. Like, that was the other thing to take away from Riley's press conference on Tuesday afternoon. No news on that except that Riley is so frustrated about Perkins' situation that he said, if I write a book, I'm devoting an entire chapter to Ronnie Perkins' deal right now. Perkins, you'll know, traveled to Ames with the team as basically support in their loss to Iowa State on the road. He was in his hoodie and in his sweatpants just trying to gas up his squad, gas up his team. Alex Grinch, Jamar Cain, and Calvin Thibodeau have all said great things about him, and I think that getting him back does help your defense. Any one player at any position is helpful, but doesn't, I don't think, totally change you unless you're a quarterback. That said, Ronnie Perkins had 6 sacks last year, which is like a quarter of the total that Oklahoma had for the entire season. And losing both him and Jalen Redmond meant that you needed to come up with dudes that could absolutely help you at those positions. And Isaiah Thomas has been a godsend for Oklahoma in that way. He's played inside and outside. And Riley said today, Isaiah Thomas is probably the most improved football player on the entire team. And he's so proud of how he's matured. And they needed him in the worst way to be that guy at defensive tackle, especially in light of Jalen Redmond opting out of the 2020 season. Now, again, silver lining is you're developing talent. Guys that probably wouldn't have gotten these many reps or these crucial crisis-type reps are absolutely showing up to fill in those holes and those gaps for you. On the other hand, what's it going to take for the NCAA to make eligible Ronnie Perkins, Ramondre Stevenson, and Trajan Bridges? Because as I understand it, they are going to be eligible for the Texas Christian game because they will have served out their suspensions, which again is great because you get to add another tailback to a group of tailbacks that was only too deep to begin with. And then you get to add depth at wide receiver, knowing that Trajan Bridges is playing the position that Drake Stoops has played, though Drake Stoops has played tremendously well as well. Duh. I think that all of this is good. I also want to see the talent that Oklahoma has, especially in the year of COVID, get an opportunity to play. Because right now, it is a tremendous win just to field a football team. Like, Vanderbilt went into its game against South Carolina on Saturday with 56 players. The threshold to meet is 53. Baylor has had to cancel yet another football game against Oklahoma State because they are in a COVID crisis of their own on campus, let alone the football team. Between players and staff, they had 42 players and staff test positive. Like 42 people in your football program testing positive for this virus. It's not a good look. Not only is it not a good look, you're really putting yourself behind the 8 ball because you want an opportunity to be eligible to play in the Big 12 championship. And wouldn't it suck if you only play 6 games, somebody else plays 9, but they go 8-1 or even 6 or 7-2, and you don't get to play like in Oklahoma. So I think these are all things to keep an eye on. I also think that one more item to keep an eye on is what we think of as outstanding defensive back play. Because it occurs to me that Oklahoma out-recruited at Patrick Fields' position, but he is not just your starting free safety, he's a captain. Oklahoma out-recruited Trey Norwood at that position. He's not just getting real snaps at strong safety, he's one of the most versatile and dependable defensive backs that Oklahoma has. You also need to take into account that when Trey Brown plays up to snuff, he is the best cornerback that Oklahoma has. It's just been feast or famine, especially in that game against Texas. Woody Washington shows up playing his natural position of corner and has an interception. He's showing out. I think this is also the reason why people really rag on Buki so much. The dude's been playing out of position. They put Woody Washington out of position. Last year, he got cooked by Justin Jefferson in the Peach Bowl. You put Buki Radley-Hiles in there, and I'll bet he turns into an outstanding corner because that's his natural friggin' position. But also, you're hurt, right? Justin Harrington is not playing. I don't know why Jeremiah Cradell is not getting on the field more. He's healthy. He's good. I want to see him play. I know he can play. You run 3 safeties as it is. I like to see him rotating in. I think that he can be a real change agent for Oklahoma defensively. And then at linebacker, Brian Mead's still getting an absolute run at linebacker, though you moved David Ugwebu over there to try to bolster that part of the depth chart, and Brian Odom is still running out the guy from Rejoice Christian in Owasso who isn't on scholarship. Couldn't be me. But if it's going to be him, at least have him prepared and make him the best player that he possibly can be. I think there's just times when that dude just doesn't know what he's looking at and is hesitant or is out on an island where he has no business being. The news, though, Chris Murray's going to be eligible. We hope that Oklahoma gets those other 3 guys eligible. And then we hope that the COVID doesn't prevent them from playing football. All right, that's it for me. Deuces.